Welcome everyone. Thank you so much for coming. Why is everyone so far? There's all this room over here. Chevra, come. Can anyone, you mind coming close over here? Just come. Maybe more Chevra will come. Come, move to the corner over here if you don't mind. Usually at concerts and Motzei Shabbos that are like this, people are in the back. I always have a good excuse of saying that we all have the same Shalashudas Schwitz, we all have the same Schwitz from Shabbos. Don't worry about being too close or too far from each other, but can't say that on a cold Monday night, but still, it doesn't matter. There's no reason to be far right now. Alright, welcome everyone. I'm very, very, very excited and very happy that whoever is here. Perfect timing. Come in, Chevra. And it's time tonight to do something that I've been looking forward to all year long. Literally since last year, since we published the Soul of Hanukkah last year, which we have here. Rabbi Shlomo has many, many Nigunim. We wrote this in the forward to the book. He has many Nigunim on any topic that you could imagine. And the wackiest thing is that the one Chag that there's not one Nigun for is Hanukkah. But the weirder thing is that the most Torah that Rabbi Shlomo has on the holidays is Dafka on Chanukah and on Purim, both holidays of Torah Shebaal Peh. Both holidays that are from we learned out from Divrei Sofrim, from Rabbanan. So I'm sure there's something very, very much deeper to it than what I can understand. But we're going to be not doing. Usually we do Parsha and it will be Miketz, and I feel like Miketz always gets messed up because it's always around Chanukah and people are always going to Chanukah. And I'm sitting here telling you the same exact thing, which isn't doing justice for Miketz either. But as we've been learning the last few months, is that all the Parshiyot, more or less since Parshat Vayetze, are really directed towards Chanukah, and there's Nekudot, there's very important inyanim in each Parsha that connect to Chanukah. But before that, just a few things before we go inside. First of all, the learning should continue learning strong for Binyamin Nachman Mordechai ben Ilana, and for Michal Moshe Ze'ev ben Yehudit and Natan Daniel ben Malka, and for everyone else, mention it to yourself, please, that need a refuah shlema. Hopefully the list shouldn't exist anymore, Bezrat Hashem. So tonight we have the Chanukah Shiur. I have flyers here from Motzei Shabbos. Please take one before you leave. I want to make sure it's as strong as possible, and make sure that if you are planning on coming, to make a reservation soon, because Baruch Hashem, it's going. So I want to make sure whoever wants to be there could be there. I also just want to make sure everyone knows that none of this could exist, none of the Svarim, the concerts, you being here without Bina, without my wife. So I'm just putting it out there. Very important that everyone, you realize I'm sitting behind this table, it looks like this is all a very nice, cute illusion. But it really is in the Sot of Baalat Habayit. Chanukah is the time for Shalom Bayis. More than any other holiday of the year, Chanukah is the time for Shalom Bayis for many reasons, but for the main one is that the Gemara, you have a Masechta, you have a tractate on almost every holiday. Very long ones. Masechta Yoma for Yom Kippur, Masechet Rosh Hashanah, Masechet Sukkah, Masechet Megillah. But when it comes to Gemara, you have a page and a half in the whole Talmud about Chanukah. Just a page and a half in Masechet Shabbat. And what is the bottom line of the sugya there in Masechet Shabbat? It says, Mitzvahs Ner Chanukah, Ish Ubeiton. Ish Ubeiton. To sum up, what Chazal are basically telling us is you want to sum up the whole inyan of Chanukah? Mitzvahs Ner Chanukah, Ish Ubeiton. A person and his home, a man and his home. So it's a very important time for those of us who already have, so to speak, have homes, to tune into it more than any other time during the year. And tonight I think we'll see why. And anyone that is looking for a home, that the gates should be open for them to find a home. And further than that, the saddest thing in the world is when someone doesn't feel at home in their own home. That's a pretty wacky thing. So there's a lot of people like that. There's a lot of people like that. So it's the time of the bayit. It's the time of the home. And every balabait should know how to act in his own home. And he has to know that Chanukah is a time that like my daughters are singing already. Here they start Chanukah songs like around Sukkot's time already. Banu choshech legardesh. The intensity. I was talking about on Shabbos when my daughters learn a new Nigun, a new song. The face. It could be a song about clowns on Purim, but the intensity and the seriousness is just like, Kat katan. Such seriousness. It's not so simple. It's deep stuff. So I didn't know where to begin tonight, choosing what to learn from the soul of Chanukah, because it was such a big simcha last year when we had the privilege of publishing it. And where do you begin when you have one night of getting together with the friends and choosing to learn one specific thing? It's not a simple thing at all. So I didn't go into the Sefer yet, and I went to one of my favorite rabbis, is Rabbi Moshe Wolfson. We've mentioned his name many, many times here. And last night in Yerushalayim we were learning his Rashi Tevot for Mashiach, which is what Chanukah is all about, which we'll see also. Is Mashiach stands for Mitgale Shmonat Yemei Chanukah. Mashiach, Mem Shin Yud Chet. Mitgale Shmonat Yemei Chanukah. That the light of Mashiach is basically revealed during the 8 days of Chanukah. Because in a nutshell, when there's Shalom Bayis, everyone knows when you don't have Shalom Bayis, the greatest things in the world can happen to you outside the house, and they don't mean anything to you. The greatest successes can be taking place in your life. Other people's successes, which usually mean something to you, they don't mean anything to you when you know that in your own bayit, in your home, something is mekulkal, something is and you say mekulkal, something is ruined, damaged, spoiled, whatever. So Mashiach is mitgale shmonat yemei Chanukah. But today I was looking at something else that he said, which is what we're going to be learning tonight. Because tonight we're going to be talking about how this light of Chanukah, dafka the ner, the aspect of it, the candle aspect of it, is really leading us towards one thing which I know that I can speak on behalf of many of you, but I won't, because I want you to speak or pray on your own behalf while we're learning. Why should I? Everyone here should be doing it for themselves. And that's that one thing I know I'm in dire need of. dire need. Behirut, clarity. I know there are a lot of great things happening around me all the time. I know I'm living in the most incredible place on earth. And I know I'm surrounded by the most incredible people. And I know that I have a million opportunities to do incredible things in the world. But you know what becomes suffocating? When I can't figure out what it is that my chelik, what I'm supposed to do. That there are so many beautiful things taking place. But my chelik, what I'm supposed to do in it, where I fit in, sometimes blinds me from all the goodness which truly exists in my life. So the light of Chanukah, this light that we're going to be speaking about, is all a build-up, the tzaddikim say. Every night is a build-up till you have a complete menorah that's lit. And on the last day it's called Zot Chanukah, which means this is Chanukah. And you can point at something and say, this is what it's all about. The 8 days are a build-up towards coming out of Chanukah and having an idea of your own chelik in this world and what your nekuda and Yiddishkeit is all about. And that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. But I wanted to share with you that last night after the Shiur in Yerushalayim, this girl came up to me. I want to see if she truth, I should have looked before. I said that. No. So this girl came up to me last night. I've gotten into deep trouble. before. Good things. It's always good things. I'm not going to say a bad thing. Chas v'shalom. I'm saying even a good thing. This girl came up to me and she said, "I saw you." I said, "You look familiar." I said, "Yeah, I came to your concert in Givat Shmo 2 weeks ago, and the morning after, I flew to Rome, and I met with my father, and she told me the highest thing in the world. She told me that I can't remember if she said that her father doesn't believe or that he's just a complete academic, and these Torahs don't mean anything to him, and they never did mean anything to him. But she said that she's been learning Soul of Hanukkah all year. That's not just a Hanukkah book for her. It's that she's not learning it all year. So she took it with her wherever she takes it with her wherever she goes. So she said that she started reading it to her father, learning it with her father, and he just started bawling and just couldn't stop crying. And it was such an emotional moment, powerful moment for her. So she said to me, I asked him afterwards, can I leave this? Can I give you a copy? And he said, no, I'm not going to look at it, So she said, what should I do? Should I give him a copy? And, obviously I told her, of course, you should give him a copy. What do we know? When, at what moment it hits, different people. So she gave me so much chizuk, for whatever it's worth, to just think about all those people who you think it could never touch. And we never know what moment the heart is open to be touched by something. And then a good chaver of mine told me he was learning it in this Shabbos in Uman by Rabbi Nachman. Someone came up to him, let's say Shabbos, and asked him, hey, what do you got there? And he pulled it out, and it was Soul of Chanukah. And this elderly Breslover chassid who lives in Yerushalayim looked at him and said, when he saw that he had a Soul of Chanukah on him, learning by Rabbi Nachman's kever, he's like, he pulled out of his code the Soul of Chanukah. So, Ashreinu, we're just very, very lucky. So tonight I'm going to go, no more big hakdamas, I want to go straight into this beautiful text. I don't think we have enough. This is basically two different pieces taken from the Soul of Hanukkah. I will share just one more thing. I will show one more thing, one more beautiful Rashi Tevos that I saw, the Gematria that I saw. This is amazing. It's an amazing thing. Rabbi Yeshiva students, you're always sitting there behind your screen and you only see my face for an hour. Just show you who you're learning. There's a lot of chaver learning with us all over the world right now. So it'll be a good thing for them to not feel like so. They're all like, oh, finally. Enough of these drapes probably driving the reflection. All right. Reb Shlomo says like this. Did it get to the back? All right. Chaver, please, while you're learning, just have one kavanah. It should be a real tefillah for shalom bayis for so many people who really need shalom bayis right now. A lot of people. Okay, really. If there's ever a time to daven for it, it's definitely right now. Reb Shlomo says like this. We're all so much the same, but Gewalt are we all so different. We each have 2 ears and 2 eyes, but inside nothing is the same. How do I know when to be the same and when it's my time to shine bright like never before? This is something that he was very, very big on in his teachings throughout. Whenever he taught about anything, he would always talk about the sgula of the klal and the sgula of the prat. Speak about how a yid is basically made up of these 2 things. That there's such an important inyan to be part of a minyan, part of a tzibur, part of a kehillah, part of a community, part of a congregation. It's like an essential part of my Judaism. Without that, there are many things that I really can't do. However, it's so easy to get lost when thinking that that is really what it's all about and that's the focus of everything. And balancing these 2 concepts of feeling like I'm part of something, and yet my thing is completely different than everybody else, can sometimes be very confusing. And remember, everything tonight is to be leading towards one thing, behirut, clarity, to get clear. This is the build-up of Hanukkah, to get clear. There are two kinds of knowledge. It's possible to know what God wants you to do in general, but the question is, what does God want you to do right now, this minute? I know every morning that I have to wake up, I have to pray, I have to learn. I know everything I have to do, and yet it's possible to not know what it is that I, Shlomo, meaning him, that's Yisa, right? Meaning that I, Shlomo, have to do. So in a nutshell, the Ishbitzer says like this, and this is I looked up, whenever he says, the Ishbitzer says, so sometimes the Sfarim take a long time to come out, because we're running around all the Ishbitzer Sfarim trying to find where the Ishbitzer says what he just quotes the Ishbitzer saying. Same thing when he says, Reb Nachman says, I've sent sometimes these Torahs to leaders in the Breslov community, they can't find what, where in Reb Nachman does Reb Nachman say this? Reb Nachman says, we want to source everything. So I once tried to give a nice little, like just a general explanation, saying it's when he learned Reb Nachman, it sounded to him like Reb Nachman said that, right? But that's not cool. I mean, you got to come on. That's such a cop out. You have to come on. It's got to be deeper than that. So when he did this with the Ishbitzer, this quote took us forever to find this quote. So now that after seeing it inside, it's not like, oh, thank God there's a source for it. It's like, oh wow, thank God we were able to find the source for it. Not doubting the authenticity, although sometimes he does say names of rebbes or towns that you could look at any map from any given era. These towns never existed, and these rebbes never existed, and sometimes there were stories about himself. So, in the nutshell, the Ishbitzer says, there is light which lights up the path, but every person needs a candle for each step of the way. This is a very important nekuda. I want to say this line again. There is light which lights up the path, derech hamelech, I know what's in front of me, but every person needs a candle for each step of the way, and you'll see the pasuk in Tehillim that this teaching is based on. Especially if you went to Bnei Akiva, you spent most of your Shalosh Shidduchos going like this with people that you maybe didn't want to, but that's what everyone else did, and you sang the following song. The book of Psalms, the book of Tehillim, is not just a book of prayer, it's the book where David HaMelech is teaching the world how to serve Hashem. There's a passage in Tehillim that says, Ner leragli dvarecha, your words are a candle for my feet, Ner leragli dvarecha, ve'or linsivase, and a light, ve'or linetivati, a light for my path. Netiv means path, right? Like a lane. Netivot shalom, the path, the lanes of shalom, of peace, right? So again, your words are a candle for my feet and a light for my path. So the Ishbitzer says that this is what David HaMelech was saying. There are two things in life that I have to do. First, I have to be like everybody else. I have to follow every word of the Torah, the 613 laws. But second, there's something else which only I can do. And the Ribono Shel Olam has chosen me to do something very special. Now the way to understand or to believe that the Ribono Shel Olam chose you, and chose you, and chose you, and I could point it at each person in this room and myself, to do something very, very special, which no one else can do, is by the mere fact that if someone else could do what I need to do in the world, there'd only be one of us. It's very simple. If someone else could do what I need to do in this world, there'd only be one of us. There wouldn't be a need for both of us to do the same thing in this world. Remember, I've shared with you, Bina and I were once driving to, I think it was on the Yortzeit last year, 2 years ago. We were driving and we listened to Reb Shlomo say a beautiful parish. He said, Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. What does it mean that God's one? What's so big about saying God's one? We don't live in a generation that we have doubts that maybe there are two gods. Maybe that was once the Avodah Zarah from ages ago. It's not really our thing today to be scared of idols and etc. Other type of idolatry. I get it, but what is the big deal? What is it so important for you and I to acknowledge that God is one? What does that mean today? So Rabbi Shlomo said, God is one means that God can't stand imitation. God is one, meaning you have to be godly in the world. You have to do that one thing which only you can do in the world, and that no one else can do in this world. You'll see how he builds this whole thing up that I kind of begin to really figure that out during Chanuka. Just like I'd ask any of you right now, do you think that any other person can give your child what your child needs in this world other than you? You'd smack me in the face for even raising, such a ridiculous svara, such a ridiculous. How could you say such a thing? Right? But then when it comes to like how I have to shine also on my own in the world, that I'm not so sure of. But don't you dare say that someone else can give my child what my child needs other than me. That's already a proof that we're dealing with, ourselves. We're very, very special. We're just very, very, very unique. Each person in this room, every person is connected to a very special, unique individuality, which cannot be ignored. Never. But especially now. Okay, so look in the next paragraph, when he says, what's considered to be a great light in my life? If someone tells me that I have to do what everybody else is doing, that's a cute little candle. But you know what my light is? My own light is my little path which leads me to God. Between people, it's the same thing. We can be good friends and meet each other and travel all around the world, and yet all that means nothing. The only question is, what's so special between you and me? By the way, did you ever... I've experienced, I don't know why, but this last year I experienced it with two different people, where I realized that we're trying way too hard for there to be something special between us in order to justify the fact that we consider each other good friends. And then I just stopped trying, and with one person, the specialness only grew when we stopped trying to figure out what it was. With the other person, it's very painful, but I had to let go. Can anyone relate to that? He said something, it's a very strong thing over here. Like, if there's not something special between the two of you, then what makes you cling on to it? What makes you hold on to it so strong? And are you able to just let go and be okay with that? It's a very, very deep teaching. It's a very deep teaching. But it's not, I don't want to get it's not for right now. The Ishbitzer says that to know this secret of special, we have two great teachers, Moshe and Aaron. What he does here now is brilliant. He says, Moshe Rabbeinu teaches you all the things which everyone else also has to do. Everyone else has to do also, right? Moshe Rabbeinu, do you see Moshe Rabbeinu having one-on-one quality conversations with people throughout the Torah? He's a general teacher. He's speaking to everyone all the time, right? It's like, did you ever, Reb Shlomo said, I don't know who will get this, but he's like, did you ever go to a concert of Elizabeth Taylor in Madison Square Garden, he said, and she says, I love you, and then you walk home feeling, wow, Elizabeth Taylor loves me, I mean, I've seen, when I was younger, I remember the thing that, the first time I got freaked out from a music video was Man in the Mirror, when these girls got a glimpse of Michael, first name basis here, Michael Jackson, right? and he says, I love you, and they all are absolutely convinced that he loves them. It's such a crazy thing, right? Such a wacky thing. But we know that's not. We know there's nothing. That's insane. That's insanity over here. There can't be anything real. Lehavdil 1,000,000 havdalas. Moshe Rabbeinu, right? Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm sorry, tonight's a little Purim energy. It's okay. It's been intense, fireballs in here the last few months. We gotta let go a little bit, right? Hanukkah's like Purim. it's fine. Moshe Rabbeinu is always dealing with the klal. He's dealing with the tzibur. But who's really in touch with personal individuality in the Torah? So again, he says, Moshe Rabbeinu, the last line over here, doesn't teach an individual tribe. He teaches all of Israel. But when you need a private teacher, then you go to Aaron HaKohen. What happened when you did something wrong back then? You went to the Holy Temple to go to the high priest, and the high priest, the Kohen Gadol, taught you that one special thing which you have to do. That was the whole thing. When a person would come and bring a korban, Chazal teaches that the Kohen wouldn't just say, okay, you're forgiven. The Kohen would then sit with the Yidla and say to him, where does it come from? Why do you... Let's talk about your Shorish Neshama. Let's talk about what you're about. Let's figure out what led you to come to this place. Not so that you don't sin, but not dafka that, but because let's figure out what your avoda is in this world. Let's figure out what is this thing that only you can do, and why you haven't figured out how to do it yet. That's the job of the Kohen, and Chanukah is the Chag of the Kohanim. Reb Shlomo says, okay, so the high priest taught you that one special thing which you have to do. Why that one thing? Why did they teach us that one thing? Because all my mistakes came from that one thing. It's what God needs me for, even if I didn't know it. So if Aaron HaKohen tells me what God needs me for, I have no problems. Now, there's a few words he just said here that are mind-blowing. I want to reiterate it. It's very important. He says, all my mistakes came from that one thing. Meaning that one thing that I'm supposed to do in the world that's not clear to me yet. He's talking here about the shorish of averas in our life. The shorish, the root, the source of mistakes in our life. What is the root, the source of mistakes, of all the mistakes I do in my life? Where does it come from? Because I don't believe in God? Not necessarily. Most people that feel, anyone that feels guilty, it's because they do believe in the Rebbe. But listen to this, Chaver, maybe this is the most important piece of tonight. This is an amazing thing. Any avera that I end up doing, all the bilbulim that I have, everything, all my failings, my short temper, anything that I just can't seem to achieve, accomplish, jump over. It's not that I'm just one of those nebuchs. It's that the way that I sin has to do, the way that I sin and that which I sin with is all connected to me not really understanding what I'm supposed to do in this world. Because when I have an idea and a concept of what I'm supposed to do in this world, no one can touch me. I was always so jealous growing up, and even still today there's probably a big, I would love to say it's not jealousy, but I'm sure it's a little bit of jealousy where people that are determined, to me, were even if they weren't right, didn't matter to me. People that are determined to do something, even if I don't agree with, that concept of being determined is something that I feel is such a grand concept. It's such an incredible concept. That you could have behirut and go for what you believe in to be what you need to do. Whether it's right or wrong is a separate thing. Obviously, I'm not talking about dvarim shebetum. I'm not saying I'm determined to create the filthiest Israeli TV station and no one will stop. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about being determined, not dafka to open up a new Chabad house, but something else. I don't know what. Just being determined to do something. It's a very powerful, to me it always put a lot of awe in me when I saw people that are determined. So if Aaron HaKohen tells me what God needs for me, what he needs me for, I have no problems. Now look at the next paragraph. I dafka put the next paragraph in bold text and you'll see why. This is so deep. I don't just want to be a servant of God. I really want to know what I am to God. You'd say this sentence in 90% of modern Orthodox shuls. They wouldn't know what you're talking about. What kind of sentence? What kind of wacky? Who talks like this? right? Who says such things? Imagine if we went to the yeshivas we went to, and like 9th grade, the Rabbi talks about, Avodas Hashem doesn't just mean kiyum mitzvahs, but it means what kind of dmus stands before the Barei Olam when you come up in the machshava of the Barei Olam, right? Maybe it's starting to shift like that. But again, Reb Shlomo says here, I don't want to just be a servant of God. I don't just want to be an Eved Hashem, like Rev Weinberger very strongly coined it, checklist Yiddishkeit. I don't want to just be checklist Yiddishkeit. I really want to know what I am to God. Like with a real deep friendship, you don't want to just know that I'm your real friend. It's like, you want to know, what am I to you? What place do I hold in your heart? It's not enough that I'm a servant of God and I try to do everything right. That's sweet. But it doesn't fill my life or my soul. What fills me the most is when I have this private connection with God. Now, what's very weird is that you and I both, we all know many people that live their whole religious lives without ever tapping into this world that he's speaking about. I would say that hundreds and hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of Jews that have existed have come into this world, been completely committed to Torah and mitzvahs, have a Jewish burial, people say Kaddish for them, there's Mishnayos for their memory, but they never ever stopped for a second and thought for a second about what is this, what am I to God? I think that maybe the Baal Shem Tov was the one to really start to push that more into the world, but I'm sure, and I know that I'm young, many of us here are from a younger generation, that we how could we say such things, but I don't think there was ever a generation where so many people thought that they actually have a personal connection with God, and that God really wants something only from them. Like, I don't think it ever happened before on a klal level, that so many people actually thought that they can find out what's that one thing that God wants of them, that it actually even exists. That's, to me, like maybe the sign of Mashiach coming, is that more and more people are actually wondering, like, what's my menorah all about? What's my chanukah all about? What's my hidden light all about? And it's amazing that it's not just young people, even older people, but it's today's day and age are also wondering. Not just when I'm 25 or 45, when I'm 65, when I'm 85. I'm starting to wonder, what is that one thing? People didn't think like this. It's like today kids go to shul, the chazan starts, then you start and you say to them, little Chaim, it wasn't always like this, that people danced l'chadaydi in shul. And they say, what? Are you kidding me? Right? To them it's a chiddush, right? Like I always say, one day one chazan is going to get up and he's going to, like in 20 years from now, there's a chazan, he's going to get up in shul and he's going to say, and everyone's going to be like, what? What nusach is that, But it wasn't always, the point is that it wasn't always like this. I'm thinking about us yesterday on the street, by the shuk. It wasn't always like that it's a normal thing that a van just stops in the middle of a street and 4 Breslovers jump out and start to go for it. Right? But that's already it's still a little bit bizarre, but it's more, but it's much more like, okay, life goes on. It's not like, did you guys go see it? It's like, whatever, life goes on. So that's on the external things, but on a deep, deep level, I don't think there was ever a generation on a klali level that actually thought there's something that it's just about me, like on the prat level, coming out in the world. Okay, the Ishbitzus says that on Chanukah, we know it says, Ner lechol echad ve'echad, the candle for each and every one. Everyone has their own Ner. And that's why it's so important, obviously, bezehirut, with caution. Each child should light their own menorah. Not talking about halachic a chiyuvim here, but each kid should feel like they have their own ner, their own light, their own candle. What does it mean that on Chanukah everyone has to kindle a little light? It means that on Chanukah God is revealing to me this one thing which only I can do. On Yom Kippur I stand before God and I tell Him what I did wrong, but everyone else is doing that also.
Okay.
God told us all to keep Shabbos, to keep kosher, to honor your parents, and each one of us asks forgiveness if we didn't do a good job. But Chanukah is much deeper. This was also when I first started learning his Torah, and I was like, wow, how could he say such a thing? Whenever he'd say Chanukah is deeper than Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, then you see it in the Kisvei Baal Shem Tov that it's really that Chanukah is the sealing, the Chatimah of whatever took place Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. On Chanukah, I'm standing before God saying, please God, reveal to me what am I doing in this world? What am I doing here? Like on Yom Kippur, I'm not so busy with that. Rosh Hashanah, I'm not busy with that. Rosh Hashanah is Hamamlich Malachim. It's just. I'm crowning a king. It's the Hayom Haras Olam, the day the way the world is created. It's not so much about my little chelik. And then Yom Kippur, I'm busy with hopefully really, really just pounding in that last ounce of tshuva into the picture. And in Sukkot, I'm so busy with mitzvahs of shivas, of the Arba Minim and the Schach and the Sukkah and the Ushpiz and inviting guests, running from Simchas Beis Hashem. Chanukah is the first time in the year that on a level of a holiday I stop and I'm like, mitzvahs ner Chanukah ishu beiso. Now it's not dafka about going to shul. Now there's no shofar to hear, there's no sukkah to build, there's no fast to fast. Now, what is my bayit? What is this dream that I'm living in? What is my own thing about? And that's why it's so much deeper, because that's much harder to live up to. To have the holy chutzpah to ask God for real, what am I to you? What is my personal thing? You know why? Because most of us are, as much as we say we'd love to know, we're petrified from the answer. We're petrified. Can you imagine if God actually came down and told you right now what you are to Him and what your nekuda is that no one else has to do? Most of us would jump out of this window. We'd jump out of here right now. We wouldn't know what to do with ourselves. So every night of lighting the menorah is building the kli, the vessel, to contain the behirut, the clarity which is growing every single day of Chanukah. This is why the story of Chanukah came about by the priests, the Maccabim. Why then? Because Aaron HaKohen's specialty is teaching you what you have to do. He teaches you what Hashem needs you for. What's that one special thing about you? Where is your little candle? Now, where we go now, that was a beautiful, beautiful concept, what we just learned. A very important and powerful concept we just learned. But what's dafka? What is it about the light of the candle that's so powerful? One time, I forget where I was, I think I was in I used to have the most incredible experiences on Chanukah going up to Rabbi Yosef Langer in Chabad of San Francisco. Crazy, crazy Chanukas. We'd go up every year if we drive up from Los Angeles and play at this beautiful festival. If any of you know San Francisco, a place called Union Square. And
the light of menorah, they put up
the big menorah, that big Bill Graham Menorah Festival, yeah. And what's amazing is that you're standing up on stage and you see, and the rabbi speaks about how you don't realize that if you carry within yourself a little light, you could spread it to the whole world. And from the stage, you see that the rabbi carries a big candle like a torch, and suddenly, each person takes one candle to the next, and suddenly you see a sea of candles just in this whole Union Square. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. I think it happened on one of these trips up there. One year, that's when the whole thing with he would invite, it's married, San Francisco, all the musicians have been there, but one year I was there when Carlos Santana was the guest to light the menorah. That was pretty beautiful. He was so humble. Like, he came up to me after we played, and he just went like, and he put his hand. I was like, it was a very, 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 very beautiful moment. And then he started talking about Michal, Gavriel, Raphael, and Ariel. No, I'm not kidding. He started talking about the Malachim. And then he was invited to go and light the menorah, but he didn't say the brachas, but whatever. A lot of cool things happened. But what I think that happened that trip was that I saw this family that just started learning about Yiddishkeit. They didn't know much. When we got to their place, we saw, it was the fourth night of Hanukkah, they had, what they did was they basically placed 4 light bulbs and turned on the light, saying brachas and turned on the light to light their menorah with electricity, right? So if you're mamish, if you're holding, then you come there and say, you guys are such shkatzim. You kidding me? You don't even know that. We thought, those bulbs were the holiest bulbs I ever saw in my life, But why is it, dafka, that it's not about bulbs? What is about the light of the candle? And why is it dafka at the time that we do it? Because this candle, this light of it, which we saw, has such an individual thing that has to do just with me. Look how Reb Shlomo takes this, and we're going to end with this. What is the candle all about? There's the light of the sun, there's the light of the moon, and there's the light of a candle. The sun and moon regulate time. The world measures time by the sun, and our counting follows the moon. What's a candle? A candle has nothing to do with time. A candle is eternity. When you love somebody very much and you sit with the candle, that's eternity. What do our holy sisters do on Friday night? They kindle a light and make this one Shabbos into eternity. And then he says here his classic, way of taking everything into this question. Do you know why people don't love each other? Because they're not connected to each other's eternity. And what does that mean? It means that when you look at someone and you think that all that exists in front of you is what you see, you're probably not going to love them. But when you realize that this person is just on their way, just like you're still on your way, and you're not just stuck to what's going on with them in the moment, you're connecting them to their eternity, and you're letting yourself be eternal as well. We get stuck all the time. I'm not even talking about judging, I'm just talking about every form of labeling, of saying what's in front of me must be exactly who they are. But Reb Shlomo always says, what are you talking about? When you take a seed and put it into the ground and you cover it with dust, you think with dirt, it's just a seed in dirt that's about to grow and be a tremendous tree one day. Sometimes, next paragraph, sometimes, God forbid, the moment you connect to someone's eternity, you're close to them. Sometimes, God forbid, parents and children are completely disconnected. And this is such a charif statement, what he says here. Children say to their parents, yes, it's true, you brought me down to the world. But my eternity, my vision of eternity, and your vision of eternity, I'm sorry to tell you, but they have nothing to do with one another. On Chanukah, when we light our candles, we fix that. We get a real vision, a godly vision of what eternity is all about. God's vision of eternity. Because let it be clear, when I connect to eternity, and by the way, what do you think he means by eternity over here? What? On a more tachlis level, what does it mean connecting to eternity? What does that mean? What kind of change in my functioning is it? Baruch, you should know the answer to this, because what we're learning in the morning. What does it mean to being connected to eternity? It means an expansive mindset. It means looking at things and realizing they are so much bigger than whatever our limited mindset is allowing us to understand them. Right? When I connect to eternity, I connect to my children. On Yom Kippur, we're not forcing God. We're standing before God, asking Him to give us a long life, parnasa. Maybe we'll have a good year, hopefully. The last night of Chanukah is called Zos Chanukah. Zos means that something is clear. I know I'll have a good year. How do I know? Because I'm looking at my little candles, at my children. And I say to God, you'd better take care of me, because my children need me. You better give me long life, because I've got to take care of those candles. Father and mother standing before God saying, listen God, I have you in my hands. I'm taking care of my children. So that means you would better take care of me. So if you want to have a good year, take that little candle, the holy drop of oil God sends into your house, and seal it with the seal of the high priest. So I want to just lesakem, to summarize what this piece is, hopefully will be forever, and go back to why Hasidim wish each other Gmar Chasima Tova on Chanukah. Why do they look at each other and say to them, you should be benched in Ksiv Chasima Tova, you should be benched and sealed in the book of Tzaddik and Gmorim on Chanukah? You know, on Yom Kippur, I can't stand before God and say, you better do anything. Because I'm scared for my life, that I myself hopefully should, you know. It's such a, not eternal relationship, it's more like, can I please pass go, or can I get out of jail free, you know, can I get that card? It's about just making sure that I'm alive. But we learned this year. Remember the vort that someone sang to me? Remember? Well, how did he sing it?
The Sefer
Hachaim Lemancha. On Yom Kippur, I'm so nervous, I just want to be alive. Please give me life. But we learned the vort here that really, write me in the book which is called Hachaim Lemancha, that I'm living for you. That I really only understand what that means on Chanukah. Because I'm not standing by the Neiros and saying, please don't kill me, right? I'm not saying, please don't, I don't want to be poor, or, you know, because we do that Rosh Yom Kippur, Miya Ani, Miya Asher, Miya Shafel, Miya, we're involved with details of Yom Kippur. But on Chanukah, I'm completely not there. On Chanukah, when I realize, Mitzvahs Ner Chanukah Ishu Beso, the home that I have, the home which you gave me, is all I really ever need, not just in my life, but in order to find out what I'm really all about. My Dalit Amos. So then I'm talking about eternity. Then I'm saying, Ribono Shleilim, my children, we all have to live forever, we all have to see Mashiach. Misgal Shmona Simei Chanukah. Then I could see something, let every day feel like new. Please don't let it be old. I want it to be new. And I saw that Gematria, it said, Mitzvahs Ner Chanukah is Gematria, B'chol Yom Yu Beinecha Kechadashim. That's what I saw Rev Wolfson said. The mitzvah of Ner Chanukah is really equal to what we say, that every day it should be in our eyes like it's new. So, like I said before, there's such a dire need for some serious Shalom Bayis in the world. But Shalom Bayis that just saves marriages from not being divorced, from not getting divorced, it's nice, but it's not Hachaim Lemancha. It's just Hachaim. It's just alive. It didn't die. But we're trying to connect to a life, to a world that's much more than just being a servant of God. I want to know what I am to God. I want to know when my name, whatever figuratively this means, when my image comes before the throne of Hashem, what does it feel like up there? What does it sound like? What does it mean up there? What kind of energy? What's my energy like up there? Who am I up there in the world? And Chanukah is the time for me to really understand that now's the time to ask, not ask. You look at your children, it's not even asking, you're demanding. It's not even asking. There's no bakashas really. It's not like, we don't have a special machzor. You have certain tefillos, the Ram Elimelech, the Bnei Yisachar, some beautiful, wondrous tefillos, but when you stand by the Nerot, everyone knows if you really let yourself be there, it's much higher than you'll ever be tefillas ne'ilah, saying Hashem hu Elokim. Remember the story that someone chassid came one time to Slonim, when the Shlomo Rabbi was lighting the chanukah, the menorah, and we have a minhag in our house also. We say, "V'hi noyam Hashem Elokeinu aleinu, ma'as yadenu karnenu aleinu, ma'as yadenu karneneu." Sweetness of God should be upon us. And he said it 3 times. He said, the Shlomo Rabbi said those 3 lines. It took around 3.5 hours for him to bring down the concept of sweetness should be in our lives. He said that wherever he was in his life, this chassid said when he came to the Shlomo Rabbi, saw him doing adlakas neiros, it's like he said that was like soap that washed out his neshama. Today, the only one in the world probably, on level of Rebbes that's like this, that we know of, is if you go to the Amshanav Rebbe sometime around like 4:30 in the morning when he lights candles. It's a very big thing. I once waited for God. I remember I went with Yehuda and Solomon and Usher Smith. We waited for a long time. They didn't come down. But I don't think you have to go to bigger. They say everything is different this today. I think that when you stop for a second and you look at your husband, you look at your wife, you look at your child, you look at the menorahs, look at the candles that are being lit. You don't have to ask yourself, what else am I missing right now? You know that whatever is right now in your presence is really like going and seeing the Kohen Gadol lighting the menorah. It really, really is. And at that moment, when you stop being freaked out by all the confusions in the world and you look at what already exists and say thank you, I have a feeling that at that moment when you stop trying to figure out so much, what is my nekuda in the world, that's when it shines into you the most. And that's the gradual ladder which is formed every night from the first night of Hanukkah upwards, till you get to the last night of Hanukkah, and you sing, Zos Hanukkah. This is Hanukkah, meaning this is who I am. This is what I'm all about. This is what God has in mind for me. Alavai, the behirut should spread amongst all of Am Yisrael. And it should really be a ner l'chol echad ve'echad, the candle for each and every person. Am Yisrael has never been in such a dire need for the menorah to shine bright than probably, I don't even know, maybe since the 6 million. Just like how crazy our lives have been, especially living here. How badly we need to feel hope. How desperately we need to feel that God really still does have this private business with us. We can't figure out what it is, but He really does have this private business with us as a people. And that should be chadur, it should be, it should be lachdor. It should be penetrated into our beings, and we should come out of the menorah with shining faces going to the rest of the year, just shining bright like little menorahs all year long. on to the fact that on Hanukkah you're reminded that you would never ever let anyone else in the world teach your children how beautiful they are, and how beautiful Hashem is, and how beautiful the world is. So don't forget that your children need you to also not compromise for 1 second on making sure that you're determined to stand before God and say, and I'm not letting go of you until you show me directly how beautiful you are and how beautiful I am, and what's the beauty of my shlichus in this world. And maybe that's really what it means. The Gemara says, mitzvahs ner chanukah ishu besa. It should be a really beautiful, sweet, and a clear Hanukkah for all of us. Thank you so much for coming, everyone.